Gather close and listen, for I have a tale for you, a cautionary tale, whispered in the dark corners of the world about a simple family, a simple house, and a wish that should have never been made. It begins on a dark and stormy night, as all the best stories do. Without, the night was cold and wet, but inside the Burnham villa, a fire burned brightly. Mr. White and his son Herbert were locked in a game of chess, their quiet concentration broken only by the click of the pieces and the placid knitting of Mrs. White by the fire. It was a picture of domestic peace, a peace that was about to be shattered forever. There he is. The visitor was a Sergeant Major Morris, a friend of Mr. White's from long ago, a tall, burly man back from 21 years in the vast, mysterious land of India. As the whiskey flowed, so did his stories, of wild scenes, of wars and plagues and strange peoples. The family listened, enthralled, and then Mr. White remembered something. What was that you started telling me the other day about a monkey's paw, Maurice? A shadow crossed the sergeant major's face. He tried to dismiss it, but it was too late. The hook was set. Well, it's just a bit of what you might call magic, perhaps. He fumbled in his pocket and produced it. A small, dried, mummified paw. Mrs. White drew back, but Herbert took it, turning it over in his hands. It had a spell put on it by an old fakir, a holy man. He wanted to show that the fate ruled people's lives, and that those who interfered with it did so to their sorrow. He put a spell on it so that 3 separate men could each have 3 wishes from it. The family laughed. Their laughter died when they saw the look on the soldier's face. Well, why don't you have 3 wishes, sir? I have, said the Sergeant Major Morris. And has anybody else wished? Asked Mrs. White. The first man had his 3 wishes, yes. I don't know what the first 2 were, but the third was for that. That's how I got the paw. A hush fell upon the room. The air grew thick. The soldier, his face pale, suddenly seized the paw and, with a grimace, threw it into the heart of the fire. No! Mr. White snatched it from the flames. The soldier warned him, pleaded with him to let it burn, to throw it back. But Mr. White, his eyes gleaming with a foolish, dangerous curiosity, shook his head. Now it is his. After the Sergeant Major left, the family's mood lightened. They joked about the wishes they could make: an emperor, to be rich and famous and happy. Well, wish for £200 then. They'll just clear the house. And so, with a shamefaced grin at his own foolishness, Mr. White took the paw. He held the foul little thing up in his right hand. I wish for £200. It moved. As I wished, it twisted in my hands, like a snake. But there was no money, nothing. He tried to laugh it off as imagination, as a fancy, but a strange, depressing silence settled over them. Later that night, alone in the darkness, Herbert stared into the dying embers of the fire and saw a face, a horrible simian face, so vivid it made him shiver. The next morning, in the bright winter sun, their fears seemed ridiculous. The shriveled little paw sat on the sideboard, a piece of forgotten nonsense. Herbert left for his job at the factory, Moore and Miggins, with a final joke about his father's new fortune. The day wore on, and then a visitor arrived. A man, well dressed in a silk hat, who hesitated at their gate, pacing back and forth, before finally, with grim resolution, walking up the path. Mrs. White brought him in. He seemed ill at ease, his eyes darting around the room. I was asked to call. I come from Moore and Miggins. Has anything happened to Herbert? Why is it? The visitor couldn't meet her eyes. He bowed his head, badly hurt, but he's not in any pain. Not in any pain. The words hung in the air, cold and heavy. Mrs. White stared, the terrible hidden meaning dawning on her face. A long, awful silence descended. He was caught in the machinery. Caught in the machinery, the firm, he said, disclaimed all liability, but in consideration of their son's services, they wished to present them with a certain sum as compensation. Mr. White rose to his feet, a look of pure horror twisting his features. His dry lips could barely form the words. How much? £200. They buried their son. The days that followed were a waking nightmare of shadow and silence. Hope gave way to a hopeless resignation. A week passed. Then one night, Mr. White awoke to a sudden wild cry from his wife. The paw! The monkey's paw! She stumbled towards him in the darkness, her voice a terrifying mix of grief and manic hope. The other 2 wishes, we have only had one. Go, get it! Wish our boys alive again. Mr. White was aghast. He tried to reason with her. It's been dead 10 days. I could only recognize him by his clothing. If he was too terrible for you to see, then how now? Bring him back! He couldn't fight her. He went down into the cold, oppressive darkness. He found a talisman on the mantelpiece. Holding the unwholesome thing in his hand, he raised it into the black air. I wish my son alive again. Nothing happened. The old man, relieved, crept back to bed. They lay in the darkness, listening. Time stretched, an hour, maybe more, and then the matches fell from Mr. White's hand. He stood frozen. He came again. He fled back to the bedroom. A third knock, louder now, resounded through the house. It's Herbert! He ran for the door, but her husband caught her, holding her back. For God's sake, don't let it in. You're afraid of your own son. I'm coming, Herbert. He broke free. He heard her run down the stairs. He heard the chain rattle back. The boat, come down. I can't reach it. He heard the scraping of her chair as she dragged it to the door. While she fumbled with the high boat, her husband was on his hands and knees, scrambling frantically on the floor, his fingers searching, desperate, for the paw. He had to find it before the thing outside got in. He heard the creak of the boat as he came slowly back. At the same instant, his hand closed around the monkey's paw. He raised it and with the last of his breath, frantically breathed his third and last wish. The knocking had ceased. He heard the chair drawn back, the door flung open, a cold wind rushed up the staircase. He ran down on his wife's side. A street lamp opposite flickered, shining on a quiet and utterly deserted road.